Hey everybody, John here from All Miniatures Great and Small. Today we're doing part 3 of our Pacific book overview for Flames of War. It's a mid-war book covering the Pacific. The first two parts covered the Japanese in part 1 and the Americans, the Marines and U.S. Army in part 2. Today we're going to be looking at the Commonwealth troops, so that's British, Indian, and Australian. We'll be taking a deeper dive into that. Before we begin, though, I do want to mention, if you do like our Flames of War content, please do check out our Patreon. Links in the description below, where we do battle reports once a month. Also, you can check out the YouTube membership. That helps support everything that we do here on the channel. Otherwise, a like and subscribe would be awesome as well. All right, so enough with the commercial. Let's go ahead and dive in. First, an overview about what we're going to be talking about. The British and Indian forces are kind of clumped together in this book. And then we have the Australian forces. So for the British and Indians, we've got some interesting stuff. So we've got 4 different formations you can run. You've got a British Rifle Company, an Indian Rifle Company, a Honey Armored Squadron, and a Grant/Lee Armored Squadron, which is pretty good. And then we're going to go ahead and go through the British and Indian before we tackle the Australians in the book. Okay, so with the British and Indians, they do have some special army rules. Let's see, they have a tank secondary weapon, which is for the Grant or Lee because it has 2 main guns on it. Mike target for artillery, which is standard British rules. Infantry has Bulldog and Deadly. Bulldog has a better counterattack rating. Deadly is a better assault rating, which they're going to need because the Japanese are pretty good in assault. They are pretty good. And then for Indian infantry, they do have a special rule called War Cry. Enemy units must re-roll their first successful motivation test to counterattack a unit with War Cry. I'm not sure how that fleshes out with the Japanese rule that they always counterattack, but we'll double check that interaction later. Okay, so with the British regiments, we've got the Rifle Company. Let's start with there first. So this is the British Rifle Company. We've got an HQ. We've got 2 mandatory rifle platoons. We could take a 3rd rifle platoon. Then we can add to taste. We've got mortars, machine gun platoon, a couple of anti-tank platoons. You can do all the way up to 6-pounders there. And then universal carriers, recon patrols, you can take up to 4 of those. So you can have a lot of little units in your rifle company, which is pretty standard for Flames of War. The rifle company HQ is made up of 2 rifle teams. The rifle platoon is maxed out at 7 rifle teams. And then you can add an anti-tank rifle and a mortar into each platoon, so really you could max out at 9 teams, which is not too bad, especially for British. British squads are usually pretty small, so the more teams you can squeeze in there, the better, especially with these big giant Japanese platoons that are going to be coming at you. Those rifle platoons, they're all hit on 3s, which is dangerous. The Japanese are hit on 3s though too, so you know it's a fair up fight that way. But their motivation is 4 up, with the Bulldog making it a 3+, and their skill is only a 5+. But they do assault on a 4+ because of deadly assault, that special rule we mentioned earlier. So with the green of 5+ under skill, these guys aren't going to be doing special movement orders very successfully. You know, you're not going to be blitzing with these guys very much. Yeah. Okay. Then you've got the mortar. I mentioned that before. You can take up to 6 3-inch mortars, so you can have some integrated sort of mortar fire in your formation and not just rely on support units. You've also got Vickers machine guns. You can take up to 4 of those. Basically, they are medium machine gun teams. You could take the 2-pound or 6-pound anti-tank guns. The 2-pounder's interesting. It's anti-tank 7. The 6-pounder's anti-tank 9. You're fighting against Japanese tanks, which are going to be maxing out at front armor 3, unless they are taking something ridiculous like the Japanese Tiger or something like that, or one of those wild card units. So even a 2-pounder is, it's not a guarantee of penetrating the tank, but it's still got a good chance with an anti-tank of 7. So we've got that. Universal carriers, you get 3 of them in a platoon. They have machine guns. One of them can carry an anti-tank rifle. Nothing too special there. It's pretty standard for the British. The Indian Rifle Company is formatted the same exact way, except the recon you can take universal carriers or an Indian pattern carrier, which is just a different type of armored car in that case. The stats are the same. They're hit on 3s, but they do have fearless motivation, so they are 3+, and their skill is also green, so they're not the best either, with that deadly assault bumping it up to a 4+. So they're killing opposing teams on a 4+. The Indian Rifle Platoon is the same. 7 rifle stands plus an anti-tank and a mortar if you want it. Everything else is the same except for the slightly different motivation. The armored car, that's the one thing that's different. They have the Indian pattern armored car, which you can take in place of the universal carrier. Both of them are front armor 1. Both of them have a machine gun, and both of them can take a boy's anti-tank rifle. They're exactly the same functionally in the game, but if you want to theme your army, your Indian army, you can take Indian pattern armored scout cars. Okay, so that's the infantry platoons. Next up, we've got the Honey Armored Squadron. The Honey, you've got a required HQ, and then 2 required troops, and then you can take 2 additional. No extra units in this armored squad. It's just tanks all the time, which is very true across the board for this book, for this time period. Usually tank companies are tanks, and that's it. You don't get mortars or recon or an infantry platoon in here. You're just getting tanks. The Honey is obviously the British version of the Stuart. It's these guys are hit on 4s. These guys are serious. Their motivation is a 4. They are trained on a 4. Their skill is a 4+. So 4+ across the board, with the front armor 3, which matches the Japanese pretty well. And then they've got a 37 millimeter tank gun with AT7, which is not too shabby. It is overworked though, so just like the Japanese, it is -1 to hit, which is when it's not moving. When it's moving. All right, then you've got the armored troop, which you can take up to 3 Honeys. I should say the HQ, very British-like. You can take up to 4 tanks in the HQ. So you could have 4 in the HQ and then 3 Honeys in each of the troops. So you could have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 Honeys in a maxed out armor squadron. All right, so that's the Honey. Then you've got the Grant Lee Armored Squadron, which is the same layout. You get an HQ plus 2 mandatory, 4 max troops, where you can take up to 3 Grants in the HQ and or only 3 Grants. They come in 3s, and the armored troops. The Grant/Lee, I love this tank. My American mid-war army is made up of Lees. I just think it's so absurdly equipped and looking that it's just wonderful. Okay, so it brings to the table a massive front armor 5, which is really good considering a lot of Japanese anti-tank is right around 7. It's also hit on 4s. It is confident, so its motivation is 4+, but it's got protected ammo, so it's remounting the 3+, which is fantastic. And it's a 4-up skill as well. So again, 4-ups across the board. The Grant has a 75 millimeter gun in the hull, which is AT9. as well as a 37 millimeter, which is anti-tank 7, same gun that's on the Honey. And then it's got machine guns as well. Not as many machine guns as the Stuart, but it's got machine guns nevertheless. These guys are pretty cool. I would take them just because I love the Grant. Against the Japanese, I think the Honeys are a better choice because the Honeys have more machine gun shots. Let me check. I think they get 5 machine gun shots if they don't. Yeah. So the Honeys each have 5 machine gun shots, whereas the Grants only have 3. So, if you want to max out on machine guns, Honeys are the way to go. They're a little bit cheaper. You're just missing out on that anti-tank 9, but honestly, I'm not sure if if it's required. I don't think it is required personally, but your mileage may vary because, of course, this is just my opinion. All right, then we got the wild card units for the British. You got the Boarhound armored car, which is a beast at front armor 4 with a 57 millimeter gun. That's anti-tank 10, 4+ firepower. Best anti-tank in the British list. But of course, it's a wild card, so it's theoretical. And talk to your opponent before you include this kind of stuff in your games. All right, and then I guess we can talk British support units, British and Indian support units. You can take 25 pounders, which are pretty standard, medium artillery. You can take up to 3 of those, so you can have 12, 25 pounders on there. 25 pounders, especially in mid-war, are really good, not just as artillery, but as anti-tank guns, because they've got a decent range, and they're, I think, anti-tank 9 and direct fire, 3+ firepower. Some pretty tasty stuff there. You can take a couple of Valentine troops. The Valentine is, not the best tank, but it is front armor 6. It's heavily armored. It does have a 2-pound gun, so that's anti-tank 7, and a couple of machine guns like the Grant. And it's not bad. It's goofy. But it is very thematic to the time period that we're talking here. You can take some more 6-pounders. You can take 20 millimeter light anti-aircraft. You need to take care of some Zeros. If you need more universal carriers, if it wasn't enough in your rifle platoons, or you're taking tank companies, you can take another universal carrier or Indian pattern carrier, as well as, you can take 2 sets of those. So yeah, very cool. So the British have a lot of cool stuff that they can take. You don't get a ton of formations, and the Indian formation is pretty much identical to the British version. So really, you only have 3 different formations here. I think the winner is the Honeys, but Honeys, I think, with a as maxed out as you can get British or Indian Rifle Company, would be pretty sweet. And then, excuse me, and then they can also take the Hurricane as air support. Air support is kind of iffy in mid-war. I've had it work for me. I've had it fail game after game. But the Hurricane is just such a cool fighter. I think the model is cool, so I'd say go for it strictly because the model is cool. All right, next up we got the Australians. We got 6 companies in the Australian force. We've got a rifle company, a militia rifle company, and a commando independent company. Then in armored formations, you've got Grants, Stuarts, and Sentinels. All right. Australian forces get Mike Target just like their British counterparts. They do get canister for their 37 millimeter guns, which basically turns their 37 millimeter anti-tank guns into giant shotguns. Infantry is deadly, meaning they have a better assault rating, and determined, which is better rally. The commandos get mountaineer, which helps them move better. Really, that's about it for the Australian special rules. The book talks about the Australian 6th Division. The Rifle Company, you've got a Rifle HQ, 2 mandatory rifle with a 3rd as an option, and then this is very close to the British version, slightly different. You got a mortar platoon you can take. You can add up to 2 medium machine gun platoons, 1 anti-tank platoon, but only 2-pounder. They don't have a 6-pounder option like the British. And then up to 4 universal carrier patrols. The rifle company is, let's see, these guys are hit on a 3+ as well. They are, oh no, they're hit on a 4. Sorry, they're hit on a 4. So these guys are a little bit more elite than the British and Indians. Their motivation is 4+. Their skill is 3+, with deadly assault 2+. They're hitting an assault on 2s, which is fantastic. Just like the British, their rifle platoons are organized the same way. You've got 7 rifle teams, basically. Well, they're Bren guns and rifles. And then you can add an anti-tank rifle and a mortar, so you can max out at 9 teams in a platoon. Otherwise, the machine guns, the anti-tank guns are the same, the universal carriers. So. Then you have the militia rifle company. Same organization, same exact organization. You can take, you got to take 2 rifle platoons. You can take a third. Then you've got militia machine guns, 2-pounder anti-tank guns, and mortars, and universal carriers. The militia give you cheaper Australians. They're hit on a 3. Their skill and motivation are both 4+, so not as good, but they're still hitting on 3+ in assault, which is pretty awesome. They have the same layout in their platoons. They're just not as good, not as expensive, but not as good. So if you like your Australians a little bit cheaper, and you don't want to take British or Indians, you have a third choice. Then you've got commandos. So this is an interesting list. You've got an HQ. You can take up to 4 commando sections. Oh no, sorry, 8 commando sections. Oh no, you can take 9 commando sections. Sorry about that. 9 commando sections. The commandos are, besides the HQ, in each commando section, you've got, they're hit on 4s. They've got great motivation, 3+, great skill, 3+ with deadly assault, 2+. They can take 5 teams max, plus an anti-tank, plus a mortar. You can replace a couple of the rifle teams with SMG teams, and you can replace one of them with a flamethrower. So you can really tweak these guys to be what you want them to be. Lots of stuff. So I think like flamethrowers will definitely be handy against Japanese forces. So these guys are pretty awesome. You're going to bleed points if you're playing a competitive game because they're small platoons. But I think that would be fun, having super elite guys running around on the board. Then you've got the Australian armored divisions. You've got the grants, so they're taking the grants. Same thing here. You got a grant HQ plus 3 platoons you can take, or troops. Sorry, troops for my British friends. One of those platoons you can swap out Stuarts for grants, which is nice. The HQ can take up to 3 grants, and each troop has 3 grants. So you can max out 12 grants if you wanted to, or 9 grants and 3 Stuarts. These guys are hit on 4s with skill and motivation of 4+, which is nice. Stuart is kind of the same layout. You got an HQ. You can take up to 4 Stuart troops. One of those troops could be swapped out for a Grant troop. So you could have all Stuarts except for 1 Grant platoon, or you could have all Grants except for 1 Stuart platoon there. The Stuarts, again, you can take 4 in the HQ, 3 in each troop. I like them. They're hit on 4s, just like the leaders, or just like the Grants. They're motivation and skill of 4+. So they are, I love them because I think they look cool. I would want just Australian Grants just so I can build more Grants. Sentinel Armored Squadron. The Sentinel is a pretty cool tank. It's Australia's first home grown tank design, which is a low kind of. I like these tanks that are unique to that nation. So you're taking Sentinels. Anyone recognizes that, you're going to say, okay, that's Australian. Whereas you see a Grant on the table, an olive, drab, or green Grant, you could be, well, is it Australian? Is it British? Is it American? Who knows till you take a closer look. But I like these ones that are kind of unique. So here you can take a Sentinel HQ, and then you can take up to 3 troops, and you can choose either the 2-pounder or 6-pounder version. These tanks have front armor 6. I mean, there's well armored as a Sherman. They're hit on 4s. All their ratings are 4s across the board. The 2-pounder's anti-tank 7, like a Stuart. The 6-pounder is anti-tank 9, like a Grant. But these guys are really, really powerful for what they're going to be facing in the, as far as Japanese armor. All right, and then support-wise, they can take, just like the British, they can take up to 3 25-pounder troops. They can take a couple of universal carrier platoons if you don't have enough of those. Anti-tank is a 2-pound anti-tank platoon. And your anti-aircraft, you can take some 40 mil Bofors, or and then aircraft you can take a P-40 or Kitty Hawk in this case. Love the P-40, one of my favorites, but crucially not my favorite, but one of them. I love flying them in my flight sims. All right, so there you go, guys. That's a look at the Commonwealth forces, the British, the Indians, the Australians. A lot of good stuff here. I hear the Army starter box for these guys is wonderful. I don't have it, and so I can't speak to it, myself firsthand. But I have seen several reviews and overviews by different YouTubers that did receive it. That it's a pretty cool set, and that the models, even though they are metal for the most part, are newer sculpts. Like the Japanese ones that I got, those are older sculpts, and you can tell. But I hear the British ones are awesome. So secondhand though, so there you go. All right, guys, there you go. We're going to do one more video covering this release where we just talk a quick overview of the whole book and my final thoughts, so you have that to look forward to if you want. All right, guys, I appreciate you sticking with me to the end. If you did, give yourself a thumbs up. Also, give me a thumbs up as well. Let me know down in the comments below if you plan on collecting or playing with the British or Commonwealth forces in the Pacific. I think it's different enough from the Americans that it's going to give you a unique play style that seems like it's going to be pretty cool. All right. Well, there you go, guys. That's my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Keep on gaming.